Hi, this is Sarah from VeloWorks, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Trek bike upgrade. I have owned this Trek since 2016, so about 17, 18 years. 2006. Sorry, 2006. My granddad bought it for me from Muddock in Bristol, and it was to commute to college when I was at City of Bristol College, and I used it every day to commute there and also to my job. And then I've done a lot of touring on it in recent years. It's come to Scotland with me. We've done cycle tours. I've been around Arran and Colonsey. So this was my bike of choice. And then about a year or so ago, I wanted to upgrade it. I wanted to do some upgrades to it. It's been quite a long time. So I'm going to pass you over to Paul, and he's going to tell you how we upgraded it.
So as Sarah's just mentioned, this is her lovely Trek bike from 2006. And we've done some subtle, when I say subtle, probably not very subtle upgrades. But what I first wanted to mention is why take a bike that was £300 new and spend 2 to 3 times that on it. Why? Well, the bike industry, and I guess life, especially in the UK, we're quite disposable, and the bike industry is very disposable. So people will buy a bike like this, and then they're like, oh, I need to upgrade, I need to upgrade, I need to do this, or a repair bill for a bike like this comes in. And because the bike was built in the East, which is mostly where we get our bikes from, for cheaper labour and cheaper parts, then shipped over to the UK, when you come to upgrade or fix a bike that you've bought for 300 up to say £1,000, on paper, money-wise, it doesn't make sense to upgrade the bike because actually a new one is cheaper. But actually upgrading the bike, you can get much more out of the bike because you can customize it to suit your needs. Also, if we look at a bike like this, and the frame's aluminium, really that frame has a shelf life, as long as there's no imperfections in the frame, up, I would say between 10 to 30 years plus. If you look after it, maybe even longer. Steel frames have even a longer life. Carbon doesn't have as big a lifespan. So if you take a product like this, buying it is the first hurdle, but then actually you do need to service it and maintain it. And actually, if you want to get the most out of a product and be sustainable, Sarah has done the best thing with this bike. We've upgraded it. She's had it for almost 20 years, and it'll be ready for another 20 years. So what upgrades have we subtly made to this bike? We'll start at the handlebars. Sarah had a shoulder injury a little while back, so she did need a taller position, and this is where we put a stem extension on to bring the bars up to kind of very much a kind of older school touring pace. The butterfly bars I've got on one of my other bikes, and I do get laughed at them, but they're great because you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's multiple positions. So if you're doing a long day ride, rather than just having flat bars where you've got kind of pressure points, you can mix it up a little bit. So they are a great alternative, even though in the modern world of gravel bikes today, they're not seen anywhere. Back in the kind of late 90s or the early 2000s, loads of people had those. The frame got completely, or the bike got completely stripped back to the frame. I'll start with the wheels. I used, as you can imagine, DT Swiss wheels, the TK540. Unfortunately, they don't make them for rim brakes anymore. They do make them for disc brake, and they're a great wheel. I hand built them using DT Swiss competition spokes. They're lovely. They're 2mm here, 2mm here, and 1.8mm here. So a little bit thinner so they can handle impact better. One solution that we really like with our touring bikes is to be able to charge our phones as we go along. If we go to a bothy or go camping, as we're so reliant on our phones in terms of taking pictures, satellite, navigation, all of that type of stuff, we actually do want a bit of a charge. And what we've done here is we've put the Shutter Precision PV8 dynamo hub on the bike, and it charges at 10% an hour. So it charges an iPhone at 10% an hour. It's routed up here. It goes under the fork crown, and then there's a lovely USB point just here, and Sarah can have a basket, not basket, but a box on the front, and she can route her phone in there. And like I said, it's 10% an hour, so if we go out on a camping tour over a few days, our phones generally don't dip below 60–70%. So yeah, it's really quite good. I've got one on my Brompton. We've upgraded everything to Shimano, so I think it was a 7-speed, so 3 at the front, 7 at the back, and we've gone for a more kind of traditional 3x9. We've gone for Shimano levers. I went for some second-hand Deore LX shifters. The reason for that is they're just super nice. So drivetrain wise, I opted for an Alivio free Holotech chain set 3x9. I know the deal is to go for 1xs and stuff like that, but really a 3x gives you just so much more range of gears. Sarah really gets on really well with it, and it works really nice. Little bit of issue with the cable routing, that took a little while to get over just because that boss is actually angled, but I've managed to sort that with a nice straw and a nice compatible front derailleur. I treated Sarah to a nice old school, new but old school Deore XT 9-speed derailleur. They don't make them anymore. They're so nice. I had to kind of source these from somewhere special, but they're super crisp and super nice. We got some nice Shimano brakes, just standard but good alloy, so they just stop really well. And then we went for a nice pannier rack from Empire. I think it's the Summit rear rack, and then Madison did a nice comfy saddle.
As Paul mentioned, these handlebars, I had a shoulder injury, and when he put these handlebars on, I was a little sceptical at first. I was a bit like, oh, they don't look that cool, but actually, no, I think they're really cool. They helped my shoulder injury so much. I couldn't have got back on my bike without them. I couldn't ride my mountain bike for ages just because it's almost one position. So these were wonderful, and the shoulder's getting a lot better, and I'm going to keep them because when we've been touring, we were in Isla, we were loads of places this last year. But anyway, when we've been touring, I just think they're perfect. Mainly, I've noticed the wheels, the difference with these wheels. Now, I'm not going to be able to talk as technically as Paul, but for someone who just cycles and loves cycling, I just noticed that I felt like I was going faster, rolling quicker. I just thought it was amazing. Gears are great. It just feels like my mountain bike, goes through the gears really nicely, and I would never want anything but a 3x. I like having that many gears, and I like that range of gears. Works for me. And the tyres are Schwalbe Marathon Plus. And when have I last had a puncture, Paul? I don't think I've ever had a puncture on these. Don't say it. Don't say it, but I've never had a puncture on these. I do keep them up to the recommended PSI though. Controversial. And yeah, there we are. My touring bike. I love it.
Certainly the sustainability is something I've touched upon, but I'll talk about it in a little bit more detail. Owning a bike and paying for a bike is your first step. Then maintaining and looking after a bike is the next step. If we're going to just buy bikes and chuck them away, and so the cycle to work scheme is a bit of a nightmare for that. It's like, oh, I've got a bike, I've paid it off, let's get the next one, let's get the next one, let's get the next one. I think me and Sarah have found more enjoyment in cycling by having just a couple of bikes, but actually spending money on the bikes and upgrading the bikes. Whilst I know we're in a position where I can do the labour for free and I can get the parts of trade, a lot of our customers do talk about the benefits of us upgrading and just tweaking their bikes and really investing in the solid kind of frame of their bike. And it's, yeah, I would say it's just such an enjoyable part of cycling that you don't get from just buying off the peg bikes every year, 2 years. What we have done here is Sarah's, as she said, used her bike for commuting and touring for many years, and we've taken it and just specialised it a little bit more. As I mentioned, this frame is good for 30 plus years. This is a really good option for a bike like this, and something we do a lot, new group sets on people's bikes and basically just customizing them nicely so people can get a better experience of riding.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment below and let us know about any bike upgrades you have, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.